In 1969, Porsche needed 25 identical race cars built in a single weekend to exploit a rule almost nobody thought anyone would actually use. I think what came out of that rushed, slightly desperate scramble is one of the most dominant race cars ever built. And 75 years into Porsche's racing history, it's still the car they reach for every time they want to remind people who they are. By the late 60s, the top class of endurance racing was owned by smaller prototypes, nimble, lightweight cars built for tight regulations. But the rulebook had a bigger, faster class sitting right there, largely unused. Group 4 allowed much larger engines and far more aggressive design, and it only asked for one thing in return: build 25 identical, road-legal examples. Everyone in the paddock treated that as a technicality nobody would seriously chase. 25 copies of what was essentially a pure race car sounded commercially impossible, maybe even a little insane. Porsche decided to chase it anyway, with homologation inspectors due to arrive and physically count the cars in a matter of days. So the small Zuffenhausen team did something a little absurd. They lined up 25 cars in a factory lot, some of them reportedly without engines installed, just to make the count when the inspectors walked through. It worked. What they'd built underneath all that improvisation was a 4.5-liter flat 12, an engine bigger and angrier than anything the prototypes it now outclassed could realistically run. On paper, it looked like the car to beat before it had even turned a competitive lap. There's a part of this story I don't think gets told enough, though. The early 917 wasn't just powerful, it was dangerously unstable at speed. The aerodynamics simply hadn't caught up to the power Porsche had just unleashed. At high speed on tracks like Le Mans' long Mulsanne straight, the car would develop lift instead of downforce, and it cost drivers their confidence, and in at least one tragic case, their life, before anyone properly understood why. It took an outside team to fix what the factory couldn't quite solve in-house. John Wyer's Gulf-liveried customer squad reworked the 917's bodywork, smoothing the tail, reshaping the nose, into the long tail and short tail configurations that would go on to become some of the most recognizable race car silhouettes ever built. That distinctive Gulf blue and orange 917, the one most people picture when they hear the name, wasn't even the factory's original vision. It was a fix that became an icon. In 1970 and again in 1971, the reworked 917 won Le Mans outright, ending Ferrari's long run at the top of endurance racing. For a manufacturer that had built this car almost as a loophole exercise just 2 years earlier, that's a remarkable turnaround. That alone would be a good story on its own. But I think the wilder chapter of this whole saga is what happened next, over in America. Porsche took the 917 platform to Can-Am Racing and turbocharged it, and the result was the 907/30, a car that, with Mark Donoghue driving for Roger Penske's team, became so dominant it's genuinely hard to overstate. In qualifying trim, estimates put the turbocharged flat 12 at over 1,500 horsepower, numbers that wouldn't be matched again in road racing for decades. Donoghue and the 91730 didn't just win races. They embarrassed the rest of the field so thoroughly that Can-Am's organizers rewrote the rules specifically to legislate the car out of existence. The series never really recovered its momentum after that. A car built to exploit one loophole ended up closing two on two different continents. This year, Porsche is marking 75 years of factory motorsport, and that anniversary hasn't stayed in the history books. Team Penske just revived the 9170/30's Sunoco livery on a current generation 963 prototype at Road America, tying today's cars directly back to this one. more than 50 years later. I don't think that's a coincidence, and I don't think it's just nostalgia marketing either. Porsche didn't just build a car that beat Ferrari at Le Mans and broke Can-Am in the same handful of years. They built the car every anniversary campaign, every throwback livery, and every 75 years of racing retrospective still points back to, because it's the clearest example of what the company is actually about. Take a rule, take a risk, and out-engineer everyone else in the room. Tell me in the comments, was the 9117 the greatest homologation special ever built, or does the Ford GT40 still take that crown for you? If you enjoy stories about small teams outsmarting the rule book, subscribe. There's plenty more where this came from.